is especially important in the European research area, where we are the supporting of our users in this kind of the challenges programs. For example, in the past it was software-defined networking. At this moment we are also talking about the machine learning, blockchain, quantum. Yes, we had a presentation by the rector of the Technical University where we exactly saw this subject as a priority for the Technical University. But it is a question, who will be the support infrastructure to make services and some kind of the research? If it will be provided only on the one university, yeah, that it is limited only to the students which are in this place. In the entrance are providing this kind of the infrastructure, yes, they could provide on the fair rules access to the whole research community. And in Poland we are the follow of this direction for the true limit of the cost of these infrastructures and support all potential users, including as well commercial research, yes, offering access to this kind of the activities.
Thank you for all comments. Let's speak now about what are major factors for success and sustainability. Of course, we partly answered to this question, but I want to provide some comments from different sources, because there are several publications about NREAN's, the operational model and something else. And I saw that for sustainable development of NREANs, we have not only founding, but we have good collaboration between NREAN and their customers, research educational institutions. We need a very good legislation basis. It's very important because in our region we can see situation when NREAN is on the market for providing services to research and educational institutions. It's absolutely an acceptable approach, because there are great difference, big difference between commercial provider and NREAN. Because again, it was explanation by representatives of European Commission what is the main difference between NREAN and commercial providers. Commercial provider can provide services which needed, but this commercial provider ask researcher to adopt his activity for his services, which usually he want to sell as a mass product, not individual project. And when we are speaking about NREAN, this is another story. For research projects, for research institutions needs NREAN adapting its infrastructure and services. This is important difference between these two approach. And what are other important factors? Maybe I ask Artur to add something.
I think that we have in the name that we are the national networks, but we are the migrate from some kind of the provider of the connectivity and the access to the internet to some provider of the all requested by the end user infrastructures. What it means? That it is a cloud, but it is this kind of the testbed that our teams are fully engaged in the research processes. It means that we are helping in the transform of the problem of the researchers into some kind of the IT infrastructure, applications, the services. And this approach, it is completely different what you are able to meet and to provide from the commercial providers. And second, that we are flexible. It means that this kind of the changes in the technologies and as well and some kind of the research thesis, it could be only supported by the research community as well, because we are the not only provider, but as well we are providing our research teams to this kind of the common solutions. That's, I think that this is a base difference between us and the commercial providers.
And what are important factors which we can consider as main factors influence NREN's sustainability, and main factors that again show the success of NREN operation. I think this is very cheap infrastructure itself, communication infrastructure. It is the portfolio of services, so the NREN has to provide resources and services to serve different projects, different user communities, and for example, NREN is also the basic infrastructure for other research and educational infrastructures, and it has to be, resources of this NREN infrastructure has to be used for operation many other pan-European e-infrastructures and services which are really needed for research and educational communities. Maybe we can speak about, for example, open science, open repository access, cloud infrastructures. In this case, of course, NREN is a very important player and provider of resources for making new approaches or creating new approaches how to make modern science. So now I want to ask clear examples how NREN's operating and what is the success and main factors which this success allows to achieve. I ask, maybe Octavian will comment this.
Okay, it's. I guess I can speak from our experience. It's the Romanian network was not so important until until we managed to make the national stakeholders aware of the there is need for a strong network between the Romanian actors in research and education. So until that time, it was something like a new internet service provider in Romania, struggling to connect a few universities. After that, and of course the power of the example from the neighboring countries, from the Jian community, and put that example in front of the Ministry of Education and Research and so on and so on. So all the stakeholders in the country, they realized that, okay, maybe this is somehow necessary to have, because all the countries in Europe does have something like that, and it seems to be good for something. Then the second step was when we managed to build our own communication infrastructure, because as long as you have nothing to operate, you have nothing to offer, compared with the commercial ISPs. When you have your own infrastructure, and you can or you are able to offer, I don't know, some let's say services on demand, the bandwidth on demand. I'm thinking about the evolution of the Romanian grid community. They are the big players in the bandwidth, and it was something like we helped them to achieve good connectivity to CERN and have results in CERN. They said, okay, we need that infrastructure because there is no other possibility. But you know, building the national infrastructure, communication infrastructure of an NREN is, okay, in my opinion, is the most important step to, you know, to have something to based on the entire activity. We signed the contract with our partners with our partner Telecomunicații CFR back in 2006, I guess, or 7. We've got more than 5,000 kilometers after 10 years, because we started in 2008. And okay, after that, nobody in the research and education community had nothing to comment on the services provided by Roedunet. You know, that there is enough bandwidth. You know, we've been in a meeting, a conference, and somebody said, okay, if nobody is talking about Roedunet, this is good, because this is, you know, this works very well. So that's my opinion in the sustainability. But of course, there are some other issues to be addressed after that. Is the maybe, you know, from our side is the people. You know, the specialists that you need to provide that services. And maybe this is our next question, Roedunet, because we really have a problem with the, you know, with the personnel, because there is a huge, you know, IT market for in I guess in the whole Europe, and it's really and that's the other side of the, you know, being a governmental, you know, institution. It's really difficult to compete with the, you know, with the salaries that you know, the private sector is paying for the same qualifications and that. But there are always problems to be solved to be sustainable. So if you have the infrastructure, then you will find some other problems. I'm pretty sure of that.
Thank you, Tamam. Maybe you can, or
Yes, please.
Yeah, I agree. I think the first step is to build your member base. And what we see when we look at NRENs, and we've done an analysis of the 130 or so NRENs, and we've said what is it actually that makes an NREN successful? And what we have found is that a successful NREN receives a level of funding, governmental funding, but then has a very close relationship with their user community and responds to the user community and the needs of the user community, because that is the distinct difference that we have between an NREN and a service provider. The other distinct difference that I would always like to point out, and that is something when you try and acquire your members, you know, there is this fallacy of understanding access costs. Very often when universities compare the prices of joining an NREN towards buying their connectivity from the local provider, they will say, but this is so much more expensive. Joining the NREN is so much more expensive. But what they don't see is that the 100 gig link that the service provider provides is shared 100 times with other 100 gig link access into their own network, whereas the NREN gives you a dedicated link. And that is the one thing, and Erik Jan was pointing it out earlier, that that leaves the NREN networks free for the big capacity that we need to push across our networks. I think the competition with the telecommunications market and the competition in salaries, that is something that NRENs across the world try and deal with. I think many NRENs and many economies have taken the view that they will take on the young engineers and they will educate them for 2 or 3 years, and then they will bite the bullet and say, well, now we release them into the economy, because some will always stay. Your champions will stay. The engineers that work in our environment are not engineers driven by money. They're driven by what the NREN offers them in job motivation. If you work in an NREN, you're not working for a big commercial organization. You're working for something that supports science, that supports education, that supports culture. There's many people out there that are motivated by wanting to support these elements in their life. And they say, when I work in an NREN, I feel that I'm contributing to my country rather than just earning the money. And of course, you need to find these people, which means you need to invest in people and you need to take more people on board. But it is my absolute, I've been in this sector for 20 years, and I know that anybody who's never forget the experience and always say, I wish I had stayed in the NREN environment. And many come back.
What is Catherine told that I think is very important, because we are not only connecting researchers, research institutions, we are connecting hospitals, libraries, schools, and practically all kind of the public sector founded from the taxes have a right to be connected to the national networks. In case of the Poland, it means that we saw example that the NordUnet was provided services for the more than 1 million of the users. In scale of the giant, we are talking about the hundreds of the millions. And what it means, that this infrastructure, yes, move to the critical national infrastructure, because will be any kind of the faults, yes, this kind of the sectors practically stop at the activity at this moment. That without IT, we can just say that we are not able to work, yes, that at least of the some research sector, but I suppose that in the other is also true. And it is especially important that, of course, it is a costly, that it is a special role for the government, yes, to provide the policy and the stability that this kind of the infrastructure must be exist and must be developed. Yes, we have this lucky that it is up connect, but it is only a starting point, yes, and it is, I think, important to highlight it here, that this kind of the European integration, it is one direction, and we're very happy that we can help and we are develop this common, but the most responsibility is based on the national governments.
Well, it's not only a responsibility, but also a challenge and maybe our opportunity to undertake this task like a common task and to build a real partnership between government, academia, and research community, but also others like libraries. We have a lot of research, maybe not a lot, but enough research libraries that also should be connected and continue and are connected. And we have also the task to assist this area also. And yes, without a common commitment and without a balanced partnership between these fields, we won't have, we won't achieve the success we need and we struggle for. So, thank you.
Thank you very much for these important comments. Now we can to speak about what obstacles, problems are existing in NRENs, in our region, for example, here in Moldova, in other partner NRENs participating in Eastern Partnership Connect project, and what are necessary to do to make this NRENs sustainable and the level of their development be near from European Union NRENs to reach the level of services, connectivity, and sustainability, of course, of this of our NRENs to comparable to European Union NRENs. From my point of view, we are doing this work and somehow successful, but there are many problems which we have to solve and to understand and to solve and to find solution in our case. And this work we have